Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we begin the Sermon on the Mount, which many believe to be really the constitution of the kingdom of heaven as it regards those who live on earth and the way that they would interrelate with God and with their fellow man. And certainly Jesus gives a lot of description and also a lot of instruction in connection to the citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And it's interesting the way this sermon begins. You know, he doesn't start the sermon by saying, okay, this is what you must believe, nor does he start it with, this is what you must do. And those are the two things typically that are focused on when it comes to the kingdom. You know, what must I believe to be a part of the kingdom of God? Or what should I do to enter into the kingdom? And those are all very important questions and things that should be discussed and thought about and reflected upon. But it's just interesting that Jesus starts this sermon actually on, what a person must be to enter the kingdom and to receive the blessings that come from the kingdom. What must a person be is really the focus when we look at the beatitudes. These are the attitudes, the dispositions, the condition of the heart of those who would receive the blessings of the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven. For instance, he says in verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit. Verse 4, blessed are those who mourn. Verse 5, blessed are the gentle. Verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Verse 7, blessed are the merciful. Verse 8, blessed are the pure in heart. Verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers. In verse 10, blessed are those who have been persecuted. And so here, time and time again, the focus is really on what type of person the kingdom of God is really geared towards. What type of disposition of heart must the individual have to receive the blessings of the kingdom? And I think that's very important for us to understand, because it might very well be the case that a person has all the correct beliefs, and it might even be the case that a person has all the correct actions. They might be, airtight in their theology, and they might actually do a pretty good job of keeping the checklist of certain things that they believe they need to do in order to be flourishing in the kingdom. But we might, in the midst of all this, forget the condition of the heart, which is really a big focus on the Sermon on the Mount, especially in chapter 5. And to forget that, not only does my beliefs have to be right, and not only do my actions have to be right, but also my heart has to be right. I have to be of the right disposition of heart, because a person might have the right theology and even have the right actions outwardly, but not be poor in spirit, but be actually self-confident in their own approach to God, to think that they can somehow approach God based on their own abilities and things like that, or they might be ones who are not gentle but are harsh and mean and cruel. They may not be those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, but just kind of use righteousness as a badge to put themselves above others and things like that. Or they may not be merciful. They might actually hold grudges against people and not show mercy to others. They may not be pure in heart. They might be harboring sin and impurities and things within, even though their beliefs are right and outwardly they're doing the right things. Inside, they have an impure heart. Or they might be people who stir up strife and just don't really seek after peace. They might even be people who are afraid of persecution and fear man and put the approval of others above God and things like that. In other words, their heart isn't right. And that's something we need to remember. If we really want to flourish in the kingdom of heaven, if we really want to reap the benefits of the kingdom of heaven, we've got to have the right heart condition. We must have a right disposition of heart. And it makes sense that the Lord would would say that these are the various things that are needed in order to flourish in the kingdom of God. Because if you think about it, in the kingdom of heaven, The kingdom of heaven is really the authority of heaven, living under the rule of heaven, the dominion of heaven, we could say. Another way you could translate that. If we are under the rule of heaven or the rule of God, the dominion of God, it means that we submit to God. And who would be better to submit to God than those who are poor in spirit, which recognize the fact that they are spiritually bankrupt. They don't have any ability in and of themselves to approach God and must trust wholly and absolutely on the accomplished work of Christ. Those who mourn over how they've fallen short of the glory of God. And those who are gentle, in other words, those who are easily moved by the Spirit of God and move very easily by God's direction. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who really have a thirst and a hunger for righteousness, not a superficial expression of righteousness, but a deep hunger for righteousness. They're ones who are merciful, who demonstrate the love of God to other people. The people who have a pure heart, that are able to readily receive the things that God has taught and to take them into the depths of their heart. And those who are all about peace, not stirring things up. These are the types of people, and who aren't scared to be persecuted. These are the type of people who will really be able to live under the direction of God. Those who are the opposite of this, who have the opposite type of heart, who are prideful, who are confident in themselves, again, that don't really hunger and thirst for righteousness, but just use it to look condescendingly upon others. Those who, again, hold grudges, all those things we talked about before. It's going to be very hard for them to live under the rule of heaven, under the rule of God, and under the dominion of God, because their self-ego is too strong and too pronounced in order for them to really humble themselves, bring themselves into a position of utter dependence upon God and reliance upon God, and thereby be able to be directed by God. And so this first section about the beatitudes, about this blessed life that people will live based on the disposition of their hearts, is very, very important. And hopefully, as we read it today, we'll really let it sink in, and to really be impressed by the fact that this is the way Jesus starts this sermon, which shows that it's very important, and we might even say foundational to what it means to really live in the kingdom of heaven and to be citizens of the kingdom of heaven. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.